Karen screamed so loud the whole block heard her. But this time, the trash can didn't topple like it usually did. It screamed back an alarm blaring right into her face. Neighbors burst out laughing, cameras up, and I knew right then, this wasn't just about garbage anymore, this was war. Act T. The conflict begins. My name's David Miller. I live with my wife Emily and our 12-year-old son Jake in Cedar Hills. Just a quiet, two-story house on a tree-lined street. Or at least, it was quiet until I met our HOA president, Karen Blackstone. Now, you've probably met the type. Blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, heels clacking down the sidewalk like she's strutting into a board meeting. Clipboard clutched like it's the Constitution. She ran the HOA like a dictator in pearls. Her obsession, my trash can. Every week I rolled it out on time. Every week I rolled it back in. But somehow, every morning, I'd wake to find the can tipped over, garbage spilling across the road. At first, I thought maybe raccoons, but then I caught her. Karen herself kicking it down the curb with a smug little smirk. I tried to be reasonable. At the next HOA meeting, I brought it up calmly. Someone keeps knocking over my can. And it's getting ridiculous. Karen crossed her arms, tilted her head. Must be wildlife. We can't control nature. The neighbors shifted in their seats, some looking down, some smirking like they knew, but nobody spoke up. That's when I realized Karen had them all cowed. Nobody dared call her out. I went home furious, but also feeling helpless. What could I do? File a complaint with the very board she controlled. Emily told me to let it go, but Jake said, "Dad, you can't just let her win." And he was right. I wasn't about to let my family live under Karen's little reign of terror. So I decided if she wanted to play games, I'd play smarter. Act 2. Escalation and doubt. I rigged up something special. A motion sensor trash can alarm. Nothing dangerous, just a shrieking siren triggered if someone touched it. Took me a weekend and some duct tape, but I was proud of it. The next morning, right on cue, Karen strutted down the block in her white sneakers, clipboard in hand. She paused at my driveway, smirked, and gave my can her usual kick. But instead of tumbling, the siren screamed, a piercing shriek echoing down the whole street. Karen jumped back like she'd touched a live wire, dropped her clipboard, hands over her ears. Neighbors poured out of their houses, phones already recording. Someone laughed. Someone else yelled, "Got her." I stood on my porch sipping coffee like it was just another Tuesday. That night, Karen called an emergency HOA meeting. She slammed her papers on the table and barked. David Miller has created a dangerous device endangering our community. I leaned back in my chair. It's just an alarm. Legal. Safer than you kicking over garbage every morning. The room rippled with chuckles. Even some of her allies smirked. Karen's face went scarlet. But she wasn't done. The next week, flyers appeared in everyone's mailbox, cartoon drawings of me as a trash terrorist, claiming I endangered children. I laughed. But deep down, it wore on me. She wasn't just petty. She was relentless. She called the police. They came, checked the can, shook their heads, and left. One even said, "Ma'am, this is just an alarm. Perfectly fine." That stung her worse than any words from me. But Karen had one more card to play. She built a 12-foot steel fence around her yard, installed cameras all aimed straight at my house. And then, this was the worst, she set up outdoor speakers, blasting recordings of me yelling at Jake to do his homework. The first time I heard my own voice booming across the street, I wanted to sink into the ground. Neighbors whispered. Emily stared at me like, "Why did you start this war?" Jake wouldn't meet my eyes. That night, I sat on my porch staring at that ridiculous fence, listening to my own voice on repeat. For the first time, I wondered if Karen had won. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe I should have just ignored her. I almost gave up. Then Mrs. Patterson, sweet old lady, 2 doors down, walked up, leaned on her cane, and said, "Don't you dare quit. David, we've all had enough of her. It's time someone stood up." That flipped a switch in me. If I walked away now, Karen's grip on this neighborhood would be ironclad. No, I wasn't backing down. So Jake and I built a little something extra. A drone, outfitted with a speaker. If Karen wanted to play Sound Wars, we'd answer back with music. Act 3. The climax. Saturday morning. The neighborhood gathered for the usual yard work and coffee runs. That's when my drone buzzed into the sky, circling above Karen's fortress, and blasting out of its little speaker, "Hit the road, Jack." The whole street stopped, heads tilted up, then laughter erupted. Phones came out. Kids danced on the sidewalks. Karen came storming out of her house, robe flapping, face crimson. She grabbed her garden hose and aimed at the sky, screaming, "This is harassment." She hit the drone with a jet of water. Sparks flew, and it spiraled straight down into her shiny steel fence. The crash toppled 2 sections, and the fence collapsed, right onto her prize rose garden. Years of careful pruning crushed in seconds. The crowd gasped, then roared with laughter. Karen spun around, dripping wet, screaming, "This is David's fault. He sabotaged me." But no one was buying it. Not after weeks of flyers, fences, and loudspeakers. By Monday, the HOA board had called a special vote. Neighbors who once sat silent stood up. Flyers, recordings, the fence disaster. Everyone had their own story. The tally wasn't even close. Karen was removed as HOA president in a landslide. Mrs. Patterson was appointed interim head, promising no more nonsense, no more power trips. Karen disappeared a week later. Her house went up for sale, fence dismantled. The clipboard queen was dethroned. I sat on my porch with Emily and Jake, coffee in hand, trash can standing tall in the driveway. For the first time in months, peace. Final beat. Because in the end, bullies only hold power when the rest of us stay silent. Stand up once, and their whole empire comes crashing down.